An easy way to change the color or add a gradient or apply a texture or a pattern over an image is using Photoshop's fill layers. With the ocean layer selected, I'll choose Layer, New Fill Layer, Solid Color. In order to have the solid color blend with the photograph underneath, I'll change the blend mode to color. Otherwise, it would just be a solid color red or blue or whatever color we select. I'll click OK, and with the color picker, I'll select a light blue color. I'll decrease the opacity, making it very subtle. But as we can see, not only is the image being changed, but so is the background area. I'll click OK, and in order to restrict the color fill from only being displayed in the polygon shape, I'll choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask. If I only want the blue color to appear on the left-hand side, I can switch to my Gradient tool, tap the D key for my default colors so that I'm drawing a gradient from black to white, click in the mask for the color fill layer, and then in order to hide the blue on the right-hand side, I'll click and drag to the left. Now we can see the color fill layer on the left side, and it slowly fades away, showing the original color ocean photo below. All right, let's try a gradient fill layer. I'll hide this layer, and then choose Layer, New Fill Layer, and Gradient. This time, in addition to changing the blend mode to color, I'm going to enable the option to use previous layer to create a clipping mask. That's the same thing that we did after we added the color fill layer by choosing the layer menu and then selecting Create Clipping Mask. So we can do that when we add the new layer. I'll click OK. That brings up the Gradient Fill dialog. I'll click the downward pointing arrow in order to access the different presets, but let's go ahead and create our own. I'll start with this purple to orange preset. That way I know that I can just change the two gradient stops. Now that it's selected, I'll click in the gradient area. That brings up the gradient editor. In order to change the color, I'll double click the color stop and then select a light blue color. I'll click OK. And then to change the other color stop, I'll double click and mute that a little bit and change it to yellow. I'll click OK. And if I thought I was going to use this gradient again, I could give it a name and then click New in order to add it to my presets. I'll click OK, but I'm not sure if I like this linear gradient. I could try changing the angle to see if I like that any better, or I could change the style from linear to radial, but that puts the center of the gradient right here, and I'd like to move it over, so I'll click in the image area and just drag. I can also reverse the gradient so that instead of blue being in the center, yellow's in the center. I actually prefer the blue being in the center, so I'll undo that and click OK. Finally, if we wanted to add a pattern fill layer, we can choose the layer menu again, New Fill Layer, and then Pattern. You can also add any of these fill layers by clicking on the new adjustment layer icon and then choosing Solid Color, Gradient, or Pattern. The problem with adding it from the bottom of the Layers panel is that you don't get the option by default to change the blend mode or to clip it. So I'll click Cancel, and this time before I click on the adjustment layer icon, I'll hold down the Option key and then choose Pattern. That will display the new layer options so that I can choose to create a clipping mask and change the blend mode. This time I'll change the blend mode to Overlay. Click OK, reposition this out of the way, and then we can decide if we want to add more of a pattern or maybe a texture. If I click on the downward pointing arrow, I can use the gear here to load up a number of different textures. In this case, I'll choose the grayscale paper and I'll append it so it will add to the other patterns that I already have loaded. I have my patterns set to view by a small list, which makes it a little bit easier when I scroll down and I'm looking for this crepe texture. There it is. I'll select it in order to add it, but I can see a little bit of a pattern in my image. So I'm going to change the scale option until that disappears. If I changed my mind and I wanted to add maybe a little bit more of a graphic pattern overlay, then I could return back to the pattern picker, scroll up to the top, and maybe choose something like the right diagonal line. Again, we can change the scale if we want to. Not quite sure how this is going to compress in video, but I'll select that. 400% is quite a bit. So when I click OK, I might decrease the opacity here a little bit just to fade it back. And of course, because these are all fill layers, they're very flexible. I can go back in and re-edit them at any time. I can edit the mask, change the opacity, or the blend mode. So as you can see, it's very easy to change the entire look and feel of an image using the color, gradient, and pattern fill layers in Photoshop.